Welcome to the Will and Dave Show, where we talk about hard things, whether it's comfortable or not. We think those conversations are necessary and important. We think that having different opinions is crucial to a healthy discourse. So saddle up, enjoy the fireside chat.
Hey, William.
Hey, Dave. How's it going? We're having a great day today, aren't we?
You really have to ask that question because I don't like to lie. I'd have to be honest, and I don't know if that's a good thing right now.
It's going hectic. Today's been a busy day.
I was doing really well until I started to get ready for the show.
It is what it is.
It's a new night. We're thinking of moving to Sunday evenings.
We're going to test it out and see how it feels.
See how it feels?
Seeing as we're pivoting over to live streams now as a general rule instead of podcasting, at least for the time being. And so we figured we might as well mess with the time while we're at it.
That's right.
And Sunday evenings looks like it'll work a little better for us, which is good.
I like that. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
If it doesn't work, you know what? We're flexible.
C'est la vie. No, not really, but in that particular sense, I am flexible, yeah.
So we do have sponsors of the show.
We do.
I married one of them, so I'm going to do that one because, I can.
Go for it.
Stitched by Susan, who also has a podcast, which is way better than ours, and it's an actual podcast. It's only audio. There's no video, nothing. You just get to listen to the dulcet tones of Susan Smith as she interviews other crafters.
What's the name of that podcast, Dave?
Measure twice and only cut once. Measure twice, cut once.
I'll have to check that out. That sounds really right up my alley,
Well, I think you should because, and you should leave a review of her podcast because, that's a good thing because apparently it helps the algorithm thingies when you leave reviews.
I don't think I actually left a review. I've listened to a couple episodes, but I don't think I've left a review.
And of course, it has to be a good review, not just a review.
I will only be honest, Dave. I won't lie.
You want anything for Christmas? You better be positive.
True.
Oh, man.
Our show is also sponsored by Northern Truss, which is a truss manufacturer here in the North Peace, where I live and work. I may or may not have some connection to the business. Who's to say? The business owned and operated here locally in Fort St. John, serving the North Peace and surrounding regions. Providers of trusses, as well as we do some provisions for flooring materials, roofing materials, and all the adjoining materials, hangers, etc. Kind of your one-stop shop for framing materials for roofs and floors, at least.
And I believe they're hiring, are they not?
Sort of.
Sort of hiring?
Well, it's tricky. It's tricky because we're still in the lull of the slow season. We are going to be hiring for sure.
Right.
And we might be pivoting some of our current staff over to new positions, kind of bumping them up and then hiring back entry-level table builders. We're not exactly sure how that's going to pan out yet.
Gotcha.
But they might be hiring, but we're not paid enough to advertise that here.
Oh, okay. Ooh, Mallory, if you want to advertise that here, you have to pay us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Fork over those
farthings. There we go.
So I will tell you, William, that I gave you that saying, and I got the saying from Mallory.
Really?
That is his saying, fork over the farthings.
It's all come full circle now.
It has. So it was a bit of a week. So earlier this week I got a call, or I saw I work at a church, and I am on the worship team, which means I play an instrument, or I sing, or I do sound, or do whatever they need. And I looked, and they had me on the cajon, which is like a little drum thing. And I said, really? A drum thing? And he said, well, you could, always actually just hop on the drums and play the drums. And it has been, as they say today, a hot minute since I have played the drums. I think, like, I actually played the drums. It was probably when I was about 18 or 19 last on a regular basis.
Oh, on a regular basis, yeah. But
Like, I've hopped
I
on
remember
it
you
every
playing
now
them
and
every
then.
now and then. Yeah.
Yeah, but not as a rule.
Not to like toot your horn or anything, but you as a musician have a knack for just being able to fit in. You have the ear that you can play almost any, like you could probably pick up an instrument that you've never played before and at least to some extent jam with people.
I can make
Just
a
because-
tune with just about any instrument.
Yeah.
But
And
the
really
problem
with
with
the drums
is that there just is no there's no hiding a mistake.
True,
So,
but you also don't need to be flashy.
well, no,
you're the
you
one
don't
who,
need
you're
to
the
be
one who always told
flashy.
me that the best drummers are understated.
Are the ones who nobody really hears.
Yeah, exactly.
So we open the service up and it's 3 songs and we play through. We get to the last song, the end of the last song.
Mhm.
And we sort of are jamming out as they're doing announcements and whatnot. And
Right.
I thought, hey, I'll do this little fill right here, right at the end of the song. I'll just do this little fill with the toms and things, and I'll make a neat little ending. And I missed the tom, I missed the snare, I hit the edge, almost dropped a stick. Like it was classic. I
apart.
didn't hit a single thing I was supposed to hit. I didn't hit the snare drum, I didn't hit the tom, I didn't hit the cymbal, I hit nothing. I just
all
was
fell apart.
flailing. And so there's it was a moment of humility to bring after a great service where I kept it simple, kept it clean.
It's a teachable moment.
It was definitely a teachable moment. Hopefully it'll be another 30 years till I do it again. So if you would like to support the show, you can go to www.buymeacoffee.com/Will and Dave Show. We couldn't afford the Will and Dave Show. We only had money for Will and Dave Show.
Yeah.
And there, for the price of 1 cup of coffee, you too can support the show, just like Stitched by Susan and Northern Trust. You will need a credit card.
If you
What's
want
that?
the shout out, just ask for it.
Oh, yeah.
I guess. Yeah, if you want a shout out, ask for it. We'll give you a shout out.
Heck yeah.
Beggars can't be choosers.
Says who?
I mean, I'm sure we could, but it'd be kind of rude.
I'll be choosers. Oh, man. So this week we've had a bit of there's a lot of material that we can go into, and we sort of had to pick and choose.
Yeah, we kind of picked 2 stories that are at least tertiarily related. Vaguely related.
Thank you for using an English word.
It is English, but anyways.
Yeah, but it's English that nobody knows.
It's fancy English. Spiffy.
Ooh, what are you drinking there? It looks like lemonade, but I bet it's not.
It is not. It's a gimlet. It's a very
It's a
wonderful
gimlet?
drink. Gimlet.
Isn't that what's inside of a chicken?
No, that's a giblet or a giblet.
Oh, okay, so
No,
that's
gimlet.
not
A gimlet is so like back in.
that. Isn't he one of the dwarves in Lord of the Rings?
That's Gimli.
Oh, Gimli. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I'm
son of
trying to
Glóin.
narrow it down here.
Anyways, the gimlet has a little bit of history to it, where sailors back in ye olden times drank their grog, which was rum and water with lime cordial or lime juice.
Gotcha.
The officers, because they were hoity-toity, they wouldn't mix theirs with rum and water. They would add their lime cordial to gin, and they would drink it neat. Not neat, but drink it just like that. And that's what this is. This is homemade lime cordial and gin. It's a very easy, very delicious drink. It's very bracing. It's quite good.
There you go. So which story should we begin with?
I'd say let's start with the worship story because it'll probably be shorter and sweeter,
Okay.
less really to dissect.
We'll begin with the video and then we'll come back to this.
Yeah. I'll give it a quick little preface
Okay,
here. So
yeah.
what you're seeing is
Yes.
a video that was taken on, I can't remember the name of the airline, but it was taken on a flight in the last 2 weeks here, and you'll see what happened, and we'll talk about it.
Okay, here it goes.
Your name.
When they say worship brings you closer to God, I don't know how literally they meant that to be,
Well, hey, you're 30,000 feet in the air,
but as good as it gets.
If God is in heaven and heaven is in the sky,
Obviously.
you're halfway there. So let's get your thoughts, and then I'll give you mine.
Well, before I get into like my personal feelings,
Okay.
I want to preface with some of the discord that's been happening
Right.
across the
As
internet about it.
as Omar Sharif or whatever her name was.
Mm-hmm.
What was her name?
I can't remember, but she's the only Muslim congresswoman in the United States.
I'm going to look up her tweet.
Okay. Omar Sharif. We have the wrong name, my dude.
I
We
grabbed a name.
we are woefully
I just grabbed a name. I didn't even care.
we are woefully unprepared for this. Ilhan Omar. It's Ilhan Omar.
Yes.
Probably should have been doing this stuff before. So I'll talk about it while you find that
Yeah, I'm going
tweet.
to
So the long and short
find
of
it,
it
bring it
is,
on the show.
on a plane, a bunch of people who are obviously part of the same group, the same religious group, obviously Christian, decided to play worship songs on the plane for the amusement of all, or not amusement, but for the enjoyment of all the other passengers to glorify their God. And some people are okay with this, and some people are very not okay with this. Some people view it as just an expression of worship and even look on it, I would say, favorably in the sense that it's such an amazing thing that so many people were chill about a worship service effectively happening on a plane 30,000 feet in the air, and saw that as being just like a really wonderful display of affection for their Lord and Savior. Other people thought it was really invasive. They just kind of shoved the music down everyone's throat in the middle of an airplane, whether people liked it or not. And so the internet's kind of been beating that topic over the head a little bit. And in particular, when we find this tweet,
It's right on the screen.
There's the tweet from Ilhan Omar. I think my family and I should have a prayer session next time we're on a plane. How do you think it would end? So Ilhan Omar being a Muslim congresswoman. And I think she makes a very good point. If it had been a religious display from, I don't want to say any other religious group, but especially Muslims on a flight like that, it would not be met with the same, you look at them go type mentality. I think it would be looked on very unfavorably by the general American public.
Well,
now, does that mean it's bad, though?
Let me ask a question, and this is going to get me in hot water, but I'm going to ask it anyways. How many Christians have hijacked an airplane?
Most Christian persecution is historical now.
Yes.
Not to say they didn't do it.
Yes.
They haven't hijacked airplanes. You're right.
How many Muslims have?
That we know of?
Yeah.
I don't know the exact number of the gentlemen.
No, but it's more than Christians.
It is. You're right.
So if you were to have a prayer service on an airplane and you were a Muslim,
yeah, but I don't.
What are the odds of somebody looking and thinking, well, maybe you're looking to prepare yourself for going and getting your 70 virgins?
Maybe. I mean, I don't think people feel the same way whenever Christians show up in Jerusalem and they're like, holy fuck, is it another crusade coming?
No, I don't think
obviously,
they do.
there's a larger time disparity.
Yes.
A time difference there. But
yes,
I feel like, again, ascribing.
I bet you 1,000 years ago, I bet absolutely they did.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
If the knights
but
are showing up.
I like to think we're farther. I like to think we're more open-minded about those sorts of things nowadays. I like to think. Obviously, I don't think that's true.
I think we are still in a time when, if you look at acts of terrorism in recent history, the majority of them are the majority.
Really. No.
Recent history.
It depends on how far or how you interpret terrorism. If you interpret it on a religious or a political spectrum exclusively, then yes, most of the major terrorist attacks lately have been perpetrated by Muslims.
Right.
But if you look at terrorism by a more
difference,
but if you look at terrorism as a more full definition, which is attacks that are meant to terrorize certain religious or ethnic groups, I would argue that the majority of terrorist attacks of recent history, like post 9/11 have been perpetrated by white people, like the
I'd
shooting in
have
the mosque, the shooting in Toronto, the Boston bombing. I'm actually not sure of the ethnicity of the people who perpetrated the Boston bombing, but just the general consensus is that it's not a Muslim thing anymore. 9/11 was a Muslim thing, but past that, it's really not. That they don't have any trophy that says we're the kings of terrorism around here. I don't think it's that case anymore. If anything else, they might at worst they might be on level footing with more domestic terrorism, but it's still terrorism. We just like to look at them as others because they're not from here.
I think that they were Muslim.
It's very possible. Again, that's then two, but obviously none of the terrorist acts committed by white people, or look at the Orlando the nightclub
Yes.
shooting,
Yes.
things like that. Like all of those, I would qualify that as terrorism. Tends to be that hate crime supersedes the terrorism marker, but it's an act of violence against a group with the intent to spread fear, and
So if we
it,
look
it,
at
it
our
works.
lifetime, my
Hmm.
lifetime, even your
Hmm.
lifetime,
Yeah.
if we look at the majority of hate crimes or the majority of terrorism acts, though, I believe you, and this is where I think it's hard to say, and I don't know that I'll probably get in trouble for it, but it's profiling. So
What
if you
when you're
have a group
doing
of
when you look at
Muslims on
against
an
Muslims?
well, I think if you have a group of Christians on an airplane
Hmm.
who break into music,
Hmm.
yes, it's annoying, and yes, I probably would. I'd be one of the ones who'd be cringing in the corner.
Yeah,
I don't know that anybody is looking at them in fear.
you're right.
I
But
believe if you have a group of Muslims who are on their knees in an airplane and they are doing another prayer thing and they're facing
Mhm.
east,
Mhm.
there will be a percentage who are going to be wondering, are they preparing on getting another 70
Yeah,
virgins?
and that's I think that's you're illustrating the problem is that double standard exists,
But
and I don't think that's right for it to exist. I think we're ascribing too much ill intent to people of a Muslim faith than they deserve to have,
okay,
because it's easy to hate them as others. Domestic terror
I don't think
perpetrated
it's
by people of
hating
our
them as
own,
others.
or being afraid of them.
I don't think it's being afraid of them. It's when they act in such a way that's out of the normal. Then our
But they don't do it any
go-to
more
is
than
to
anyone
say,
else does.
why are they doing it?
I mean, it's
That's the difference. It is our history is if it's a Christian singing, he's not about to blow up a plane. If you have a Muslim who is
they
praying
did
in
it
our
once.
recent history, it's more
Yeah,
frightening.
and to a certain extent, you make a good point, because, like, I can say that I certainly have a heightened level of apprehension around a certain class of men, specifically people who engage with and in kind of incel subculture. I am initially apprehensive of them, like, because the majority of, not the majority of, but too many acts of violence have been perpetrated by people who are part of that community. And so I do ascribe a certain level of fear and apprehension around them based on association with that community. And yeah, that's something that's genuinely making me think right now. I can rail against people stereotyping Muslims as terrorists and being afraid of them by proxy, but how dare I stereotype other people for
See,
I don't think it's
I don't
quite
think it's
apples to apples,
stereotyping.
but
I don't think it's stereotyping. It's being logical.
I don't think it is. I think it's the fact that they were Muslim is just a happenstance. The fact that the incel, well, not a happenstance. There's
What is
reasons the
incel?
incel community in celibacy is a movement that largely exists online, largely by uh, young men who, trying to put this in the simplest terms. They feel that women unfairly overlook them as partners and mates, both in an emotional and sexual sense. And so their view of women's place in society becomes very, very harshly skewed, um, in a myriad of ways. Like that, in celibacy or incel is involuntary celibacy, is what that's supposed to be a shorthand for. And the gentleman in Toronto who shot a bunch of people and drove a van on the street, uh, I believe the gentleman at the mosque shooting in New Zealand, I think it was. I think he also had ties to those communities. It's not a nice place at all. It's a very ugly um, community, and a lot of violent people have come out of it. A disproportionate number of violent people have come out of that community.
So I'm reading just a little bit about incels, Ian, because
Mm-hmm.
we have the magic of the interwebs here.
We really went off the rails from singing worship songs on a plane here.
Well, I don't think we did, though, Will. I think that
Oh, I'm not complaining.
This idea of a group of men who I'm reading and who are angry at women for their lack of sexual activity,
Mm-hmm.
and they blame the women for it. Apparently, it began on Reddit.
It certainly grew and spread very quickly on Reddit. Yeah,
I'm probably gonna get in trouble for this one too. But
lay it on me.
get out of your mom's basement, brush your teeth, have a shower, head out to the pub. I guess it began in England, and maybe your chances of getting laid would be higher.
I mean, you're not wrong. Like that is a common sense approach to a very incelibacy or incel culture is something that we could talk a lot about, and I've delved into it only a little bit, and it is a very
I don't think it's worth
complex
much time.
Well, see, the problem is it is worth time in the sense that it's not a small number of people that buy into it and that feel connection to that, whether or not they like buy in wholeheartedly or whether they just feel some feelings of kinship with people who are in that boat because they can't get laid either, or they can't find somebody who cares about them. And
But it sounds like a bunch of angry online guys who want to get laid.
I mean, and
That's what it sounds like.
If you want to really distill it down, kind of, but the problem is that when you have a culture like that, it's a culture of self-hatred. They
not
hate
really,
themselves.
It's women that they hate, really.
It is, but it's rooted in self-hatred, and it expresses as hating women. But like, if you try to reach out to them and say, take better care of yourself, or maybe get your health in shape, or maybe get educated, or get out there, or anything like that, those ideas will bounce off of them because they've already decided. I'm speaking with very blanket terms here, but
yes,
they've already decided that
only have a little bit.
They are unlovable and unfuckable, and that's the lot in life. And so the hatred of women then is born out of that root belief that they are unlovable and undesirable, and so they have to force people to be with them, and they have to.
People like this who keep therapists in business.
I like to think good people keep therapists in business too, but yes, it's wild. And the problem is that
this just scares me.
Yeah, and you know how we talk about echo chambers a lot.
Yeah,
we bring it up regularly.
Yes,
the incel community is a grand echo chamber.
Having you and I on a show is not an echo chamber.
No, we are actively trying to break those echo chambers, but the incel community is a very tight, a very thick-shelled echo chamber. Like it is brutal inside of there.
So when
you'll find similar.
Go ahead. If we look at the people on the plane and the Muslim, and this idea that maybe there was a bit of that there is a difference in between if there's a group of Muslims who begin a prayer service on a plane or the group of Christians on the plane.
I can agree that there's a difference in perception,
Yes.
But I think part of the frustration on the part of Ilhan Omar,
Or whatever her
yes,
name
Ilhan
is.
Omar, and
Yes.
myself, is that the fact that that perception exists is what's bothersome to us, because now a whole group is getting judged on the actions of a few.
Well,
I mean,
maybe
we
you
felt
need to
that
talk with
way.
the few.
I mean, we've tried to deal with the few. It's not a simple process, but the situation in Ukraine is a wonderful example. The the difference of opinion in accepting Ukrainian refugees and the difference of opinion in accepting Syrian refugees is vast. And that's not just an American problem. I think that also extends to Europe. Most European countries are much more all for accepting Ukrainian refugees because they're white and not Muslim. They're not as scary. They're not associated with that. And whether the association is born out of a real terrifying incident or not doesn't change the fact that we're judging an entire ethnic and religious group for the actions of a few. And I don't think that's a good thing at all.
Okay. So
And
singing
to
on an
go all the way,
airplane as a group of Christians, is it good or bad?
if you're asking my personal opinion,
Yes, I'm asking your personal opinion.
okay, objectively, I think it's annoying. It's as annoying as a guy who insists on playing his music on speakers really freaking loud, and it's as annoying as someone who won't shut up on their cell phone in a tightly confined space like an airplane or a bus or anything like that. It's equivalent to that objectively.
Right.
Subjectively, I find it extra annoying because they're doing it with the intent of, or I assume they're doing it with the intent of glorifying and raising awareness for their deity, effectively evangelizing to an extent on the plane. And that part I kind of take issue with because I think they could just shut up and find better ways to do it. That's a subjective thing. I have a personal beef with it, but objectively, I think it's no worse than someone playing really loud music. It's just aggravating. It's invading everyone else's personal space with your noise, and it's just downright rude.
So I'm going to tell you a story.
Okay.
I've done it.
Mm-hmm.
We were on a mission group over to Asia when I was
Mm-hmm.
in my teens, and there was a group of 40 of us on a huge airplane with, I think, over 500 people in the airplane. I can't remember how many. And we were practicing our music. It was like an 18-hour
Mm-hmm.
flight. We were practicing our music on the plane, and the poor people. And afterwards, they cheered and they clapped. So,
I mean, hey, if you did a good job, cool.
I don't think we did. We were teenagers.
Maybe
But
they were cheering because you're done.
maybe that's very possible.
See, I've done it on a bus, but mine doesn't quite translate because my doing it on a bus was I was on a Christian youth retreat down at
Right.
Gleanings.
Right.
So
It
we were
was your
all in the
people.
same
Yes.
boat. We were all part of that same tribe,
Yes.
and we were all singing VeggieTales together to keep awake late at night.
Okay. Well, let's move on to doxing because I
Yeah.
want to talk a little bit about doxing, and you need to
Yeah.
define this.
I'm going to read this one, read the
Okay.
definition first, and then talk about it.
Okay. Read it.
The definition of doxing, or to be doxed, is to search for and publish private or identifying information about a particular individual on the internet generally, and typically with malicious intent.
Okay.
We bring
So
this
this
up
was your
as,
idea, and so why
Yeah.
don't you lay the background a little bit?
Yeah, so the background is there's this TikTok account called Libs of TikTok. And it is a TikTok account that, generally speaking, the majority of their content is making fun of the uber progressive people on TikTok. And some of their most popular videos are shining a light on teachers who have come out as, gay or bi or trans or any of those other things. Basically, very progressive teachers who talk about their accepting or non-accepting classrooms and experiences as teachers, as non-binary individuals. And those particular videos got a lot of traction. And what happened was they got a lot of traction and it ruffled a lot of feathers. And so a New York Times reporter, I believe her name is Tommy Loren, I think,
I think so.
she found out the identity. She did it on her own impetus. A bunch of people on the internet also found out the identity of the person running the TikTok account, but she actually published an op-ed in the New York Times about the person running Libs of TikTok. divulging their name. She did not give an address or anything like that, but she did give the person's name. And it kind of blew up because the person running the Libs of TikTok account claims that they have been doxxed because of this. You know, their personal information was leaked. They were anonymous, or so they thought up to this point. Um, but the pushback online has largely been that the person running the Libs of TikTok account has been publishing the accounts and shedding awareness on these teachers without protecting their identities. So many of them have been outed in their workplaces. Some of them have been fired. Some of them have lost jobs or lost face publicly because of this TikTok account and its popularity. And so a chunk of the internet doesn't feel any remorse for this person, or doesn't feel that those two situations are equivalent. That sharing a teacher's identity and thoughts that are being posted on a social media platform like TikTok to their employers, or where their employers can see it, because Libs of TikTok doesn't just post it; they post it and advocate for parents to contact school districts and complain about it, which is the big differentiator for me, is that they advocate for parents to do something about it, whereas Tommy Loren is just writing an op-ed talking about it and talking about how much she dislikes it. But I think that's a large differentiating factor. And so the internet's kind of been in a debate over whether or not the New York Times and the author of that piece are in the right to divulge that information, or
I'm
whether
gonna
the
let
Libs
you
of TikTok
Google
account
some names because I believe you're wrong on some of those names. But
which names?
Loren's lady, I don't think it's Tommy. I think it's another name. It's a T name. I think that's wrong. Here's the thing
Oh
about
yeah,
Libs
I
of
am
Tik.
wrong.
Here's the thing about Libs of TikTok. So after you sent that, I went and I got to looking into Libs of TikTok, and I thought it was interesting the vitriol against them, because
Against Libs of TikTok or against the
yes,
teachers?
no, Libs of TikTok.
Okay. Taylor Lorenz. It's
Yeah,
Taylor Lorenz.
the majority of their posts up until a week ago, as all this here all hit about a week ago, but the majority of the posts were, "Hey, here is a TikTok of one of these teachers.
Mm-hmm.
You should go to your school.
Yeah.
And you should ask them about this." So it was not anything which was not already available publicly. It held a magnifying glass to it.
Yes.
And said, "Hey guys,
yes, you're right.
here's what's online, and this is one of the teachers in your school, in your community. Maybe you need to be aware."
Yeah. So do you view that as okay to do that and say that?
Absolutely.
Right.
It would be one thing if it was not already public.
Right. Well,
It's like,
nothing that Taylor Lorenz found wasn't public. That's how other
no.
people found it as well. It wasn't actively being put out there, but it was public.
Here's the difference I see. With Lorenz, what she did was not illegal.
Mm-hmm.
It was making a point and saying, "I don't like you, so therefore I'm going to expose you," as there obviously is an intent for anonymity. Anonymity, is that the word I want?
And anonymity.
Anonymity. Oh, okay. For remaining anonymous on the part of the owner of Libs of TikTok, who was running the show. There obviously was an intent of remaining anonymous.
Yeah.
And Lorenz said, "Yeah, no, I'm not going to let that happen." The reason that she did was she didn't agree with the content.
Right.
She said, "You're saying these things and I don't agree, so therefore I'm going to expose you." And she said that. She said, I'm going to open this up so everybody knows who you are.
Mm-hmm.
The reason is the motives. Or the issue I have, the issue I have is the motives in between the two. So on the part of Libs of TikTok, who would agree or would line up more with my viewpoint, obviously, than yours, the his all they're doing is saying, here it is. You need to be aware. It's in your school, it's in your city, it's in your community.
I think that there is a deeply negative connotation to the way in which it's presented by Libs of TikTok.
So
it's not just it exists. It exists, and this is bad, and we need to do something about it.
If you look at their posts, and I went back and I looked, I bet you 300 of their posts.
Mm-hmm.
The majority of them is, here's a post on TikTok. Here's who it is. Here's where they are. The community, that they're in.
Yeah.
And all of this is not hidden. It is not in behind a veil of secrecy. It's not anywhere. It's on their profile. It's public. And they're saying, maybe you need to be aware. Now, obviously, it's because they don't agree with it. I get that.
Yeah.
But it's not a commentary on what they are saying. It just says, here it is. You probably don't agree with it. Maybe you should do something about it.
So it might not be doxing, more witch hunting.
No.
I would be still think it's
it would be
riding the line.
If they were saying, if it were hidden or not public.
No. Whether it's public or not,
public.
They're
all they're doing
to
is saying, hey, this is in your school. This is your kids in this school, and so are these who are saying these things that you may not agree with.
It doesn't, like, it's those people's personal
lives. I think that's
lives.
witch hunting.
I think that it rides the line of witch hunting in the same way that Taylor Lorenz rides the line of doxing by only sharing her name but not any other identifying details.
So
I think because I don't think that Taylor Lorenz is in the right either, because Taylor Lorenz is someone who has been doxed in the past on multiple occasions because of articles she's written, and so I think that for her to skirt that line so brazenly speaks to a double standard in her and her journalism. But I feel the same about the Libs of TikTok.
So on that note, I do want to speak on the Taylor Lorenz. I don't think that she was doxing. And actually, if you look at the video that the owner of the Libs of TikTok, what she took of Taylor Lorenz at her home, and she showed her street, and she showed a whole bunch of evidence.
She did more to out herself than Taylor ever did.
Yeah, so there's no doxing involved here. If you
post
post knowledge like that online, it's public then, and it's sort of. It sucks to be you, but it just is what it is.
Yeah, but
it's not
doxing. That's a flub on the Libs of TikTok, and a silly one at that. But I mean, just Taylor, by giving up, like, Taylor could have written the article without the person's name, and I think the article would have carried effectively the exact same value of pointing out, hey, this account's doing things that I don't agree with and that aren't bad. Putting their personal name on it was unnecessary. It didn't do anything to enhance or detract from the story. It existed purely to put a fire under that person's butt.
Absolutely.
In the same way that I think that the Libs of TikTok could be raising awareness about their distaste for the actions of some teachers without having to send parents to complain to teachers on behalf of those teachers.
So here's the difference, though, Will. Is on the teachers and other viewpoint. It isn't only teachers. It just is. It's the obvious one. On the part of the teachers, all this information is information which is already out in the public eye. It was on TikTok. It was already there.
But
and
that's why I say that it skirts the line from witch hunting, because the teachers putting it there is one thing. The teachers posting to their social media, yes, they are putting it out there publicly and inviting criticism of it.
Yes.
But when an account like Libs of TikTok is, this is harsh language, but I can't think of better terminology for it. So I'm going to say this. It's going to sound harsher than I think it is. But when they're effectively weaponizing these parents and directing them to push back against these teachers, I believe that it rides that line between advocating and witch hunting.
But
I think it's really riding that line.
Aren't you equally advocating, if you agree with these guys, here's the info, go to your school and support them?
But I'm not.
There's not a lot of commentary in Libs of TikTok.
But one is meant to support, and the other is meant to tear down. Again, it's such a fuzzy line.
One of the best
I also
memes
don't advocate for the teachers.
One of the best memes I saw. I'm going to see if I can find it here.
Okay.
it's one of the things that see if I can grab it.
I was gonna be careful. We're almost at an hour. We've been going at this.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, we're a few minutes late starting, I guess, so it's not too bad.
There's a meme for Libs of TikTok that was just
The cat's meow, the bee's knees.
here. And this to me is sort of this is what Libs of TikTok are doing is they're showing.
But at the same time, I feel like that meme works exactly the same if you flip the names around. I don't think that either side is in the right.
Absolutely. Except I think
I don't.
here's the difference. At least in my humble opinion, here's the difference.
Okay.
For the Libs of TikTok, it really is a mirror. It's saying, here's what you're posting, guys. And if you don't agree with it, you really ought to go, get into your school and school board and all that kind of stuff and fix this. For Lorenz, what she did is she went online and she dug stuff which really wasn't in the public eye. It's available. You can get it and you can dig for it and you can look it up. Mm-hmm. And then she said, here it is. Here is this lady who's posting this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't in the public eye. Now, is it illegal? No.
I mean, most doxing isn't necessarily illegal, but
right.
Whether it's malicious or not.
And it was malicious. But the information which was there, it was not in the public eye. It was not out there. And it is on TikTok. So if you post on TikTok, if you post on YouTube, if you post in these places and you say, ooh, I don't want you to show that of me. Well, why the heck did you stick it on TikTok for?
Yes.
Is there not any culpability?
I think that Libs of TikTok's actions are equally as malicious as Taylor Lorenz. And they're not saying, hey, if you don't like this kind of behavior out of teachers, go talk to your congressman, go stand up for these sorts of things. They're saying, go to the school boards of these teachers.
But they don't say that, Will. They do not.
But they're incentivizing it. They're shining a spotlight on these teachers.
Yes, they are.
As I see it, equally as ill intent as Taylor Lorenz.
But how can it be equally as ill intent as it's public knowledge?
Because they don't want them to teach. They don't want them around their kids because of who they are.
So are we not allowed to do any advocating for our own point of view?
Advocate away.
Okay, that's what they're doing.
No, they're advocating against certain singular people, as opposed to just
who they view as dangerous. So they're saying, in
the same sense that they view those people as dangerous, yes. Taylor Lorenz could view Libs of TikTok as dangerous. That is perfectly equivalent.
But here's the difference. Is for the people on TikTok who did the videos, they moved their whole information into the public arena. And all Libs of TikTok is saying, here it is.
Some of them do, and some of them don't. Some of them are as simple as they have a username and they talk about being a teacher. Some of them do have their school districts or whatever in them, and those people are opening themselves up for criticism. But I still think that the intent behind Libs of TikTok is equally as malicious. I don't like either of them.
Give me a moment here. Give me a moment.
I'm not saying that all of them are. I'm just saying some of them. Some of them probably do have identifying information and blatantly available. Some of them probably don't.
So all the posts I saw, and this is every one that I saw, it was not...
I'm turning away from my camera for a second so I can do this.
Libs of TikTok.
We're going to get into this right now.
Oh, we're getting into it. So I'm ignoring the ones in the last week because those are all about, all that's happened. So if we go back like April 19th. No, that's still about Lorenz.
I just want their TikTok account. I found their Twitter account. Where the heck is their TikTok?
They don't have a TikTok account.
Oh, okay.
They're only on Twitter.
Oh, right. That's right. They are only on Twitter.
They're only Twitter.
Scrolling way down,
Oh
way
my
down.
gosh, April 18th. Man, they post a lot.
I mean, it's their living.
So I'm going to throw this on the screen, Will. That's the easiest way. Are you able to see this? Actually, hold on a sec. You know what? Go away. I'm just going to do this. Source blank.
So Libs of TikTok on April 8th added a venue. Let's see, a festival, a venue, and a theater. Are you all aware that you're hosting and promoting a sex show which will have full nudity for 5-year-olds? You're okay with this? This is the Oh, that's perfectly fine.
Okay.
God.
So
I don't know where they're getting the full nudity. I think they're talking about a drag show that happened at a theater that children were allowed to attend, but it's a drag show, not nudity. I'm having a hard time finding context about that, but that is them directly
okay, so this
contacting
is.
people.
So we're on the screen. Will, are you watching this?
Give me a second. Okay.
This is a feed of April 18th.
Hold up. Go back up.
So none of this, and there's a lot, and I went through a lot of them. There is not a lot, hardly any amount of extra commentary. There just isn't. It just is. Here's the link.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
To relax.
No. I saw something else I saw on their
Okay.
feed. I found the context that I was looking for earlier.
So most of their links, the vast majority of their links are not just aren't extra commentary. It's links, it's stories. Oh, there's your favorite,
Which one?
Tucker Carlson.
Like, okay, that's bringing up another point. So she may want to remain, she may not be publicizing her name, but she's going on radio shows. She's going on Tucker Carlson. To a certain extent, she's becoming a public figure and has to be aware of what's coming with it. Like, unless she's taking extra steps to prevent her identity being found out, which maybe she did, I don't know. She's opening herself up for it. It doesn't mean that it's right for people to share that information without her knowledge or consent. No. But it definitely limits how sorry I feel.
See, I don't feel sorry for her at all, as I think that it's part and parcel of being online.
Mm-hmm.
If you're online, you do open yourself up, although I think it's different. It's different. As the libs of TikTok, all they're doing is showing a magnifying or a mirror on what the left is saying and the liberals are saying, and saying, here it is. If you don't agree, here it is. You can research it. And obviously it's from a perspective. Like everything is from a perspective.
I don't think... I find it hard to feel overly sympathetic for them. I don't think that what Taylor Lorenz wrote and giving out her identity like that was the right thing to do, because I don't think that it added any extra meaning or context to the article or the article's purpose. But I also find it very difficult to be overly sympathetic towards Libs of TikTok. I really don't. If for no other reason, and this is getting into personal philosophy, is into their obvious bias towards their views on gender and sexuality, etc., and how I view those as being oppressive towards children. That inevitably colors my lack of sympathy towards the owner of the Libs of TikTok account, and I'm aware of that, but I don't really feel bad about it.
Well, I don't think you feel bad about it, except I think you should see the difference between the two.
I see them as I would go so far as to say that I do see them as different, but I see them as equivalent.
But how
I
can
don't
you?
view one as being worse than the other by any stretch. I don't view either of them in a good light.
As the one of them is saying, here's what other people posted. Here's what other people are doing. And again, they're doing it publicly. It isn't secret knowledge. It is not,
Yeah,
there's no attempt at hiding this. It's on
yeah.
TikTok, it's on Facebook, it's on YouTube, it's elsewhere. But the other one, they're saying, hey, I'm going to go and I'm going to dig up this information on this woman who really would rather be in the shadows. No,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going and I'm going to make it
See,
known. And the reason I'm doing it is because I don't agree with her. And I think that what she's doing is bad.
so I would have
And
to
so her
do.
privacy really means nothing to me, as I don't think it should be private, even though she would like it to be private. And you're saying, as
Again,
you
I
agree
think
with her, it's easier for you to say that, hey, I agree with her viewpoint, so therefore I think it's all the same. But the
I don't think
actions are
it's the
not the same.
same. I think they're equivalent, not the same,
How can they be equivalent?
because I feel that where Tommy Lorenz did skirt the line of doxing somebody by giving
It's the
their
wrong
name out there,
phrase. I don't think it's doxing.
whatever,
Okay.
of displaying their information without their knowledge or
Okay.
consent. Although she did do it with their knowledge, as she tried to contact them ahead of the article being released to get statements and to get their take on it. Um, so some credit goes to her for doing that and doing her due diligence before releasing it, even though I still think that the releasing of the name is unnecessary. I don't know. I find the ideology behind the Libs of TikTok account to be more than distasteful. And again, that's
I agree with you.
and so I don't. If
I don't
Libs of
agree that it's
TikTok, I would
distasteful.
have
Like I would agree that you don't agree.
I would have to dig deeper through all their content. And I know this is kind of a cop out saying if I look hard enough, I'm sure I'll find something indictable. But if given the opportunity, I have no doubt in my mind that Libs of TikTok would dox a teacher at the drop of a hat, given the ability to do so. And from what the discourse that I've read, from where I originally found the story on Philly D, he made reference to them actually having done that. Now, I don't have that evidence in front of me, so I can't say with certainty that it's there. This is third-party information and hearsay, effectively.
Okay.
But I look at the signifiers on what we've seen of the account, and given the opportunity, I see no reason to think that Libs of TikTok wouldn't have given out the personal information of a teacher if they had the ability to do so or a reason to do so.
So they have given out the information of teachers.
Right.
Except it's information which was already available.
As was Libs of TikTok's information. Because it was so easy to find by people. I mean, whether or not, I don't know. This branches into another topic of conversation, which is, when you put things on social media, we can look at it as easily. You're opening yourself up to criticism of whatever you put on social
Yes.
media. You're opening it up to the public.
Yes.
And to a certain extent, I don't know where that line is drawn between people who do it with their name attached to the account or a name as an account, etc., or with their school district in the title of a video or something like that, or Libs of TikTok, who's made a living of producing these ideas and this ideology and being on talk shows now and on radio and on television. At what point is that effectively putting themselves out there to an equivalent degree? And I don't know. I'm not sure. That's a blurry line and a slippery slope, I think.
It's actually interesting, as the Libs of TikTok is not making a living off it, or or if they are, it's recent as it began.
It is. It is recent. It is recent.
It's less than
Very
6 months
recent.
old, I believe.
Yeah. No, it's very
It's
recent.
not very
that
old.
they're
And
making
again,
money
this
off.
has, and one of the reason which I wonder at the vitriol again against them is it obviously is hitting a nerve on people on the right.
Yeah,
Or people on the
as would
left, rather.
any as
It's
was
hitting a
any
nerve with
nerve
people
like
on the
that,
left.
because they're cherry picking the worst and most ridiculous of things. Some of which aren't all that ridiculous, but some of which are ridiculous.
It's some of the stuff that we have talked about on this show about, how if you're 8 year old or if you are 5 years old, you don't know red from blue at some stages, and yet you can decide your gender. These sorts of things, I think, has a more conservative minded guy I find absurd. And when we look at some of the things Libs of TikTok is saying, it's along those lines. Yeah, they're looking at these extreme ideas that, if you are 11 or 13 years old, you know everything about your body, and you should be able to get to explore everything about your body.
There
And
we go. You probably don't know, but you should be allowed to explore.
I don't think you should.
Why? Who
We don't
said that
let
they
you
have to be a
drive.
certain way?
We
You're
don't let
right,
you drive.
but you can let them dress however the hell they want and
Why?
express themselves however they want. Why not? Why
Uh,
not? We're holding them to a standard that somebody decided eons ago should be the standard for no particular. There's no reason.
why don't we let them
There's,
drive?
because they're not developed enough for it. Why do we let them
What aren't they
decide to be
developed
straight
enough
beforehand? Huh? They're not old enough. They don't. They're not. They haven't had the responsibility, the time. Their motor skills aren't fully developed. There's
Right.
there's a litany of reasons why they don't drive.
Right.
But how they dress, how they act, how they talk, and how
Why
they
don't we
like
let
to be
them?
talked to,
Why don't we let them handle an axe?
because it's dangerous.
Because it's dangerous. Why is it dangerous? It's not the axe; it's how you use it.
Yeah, how a person
As the
dresses
skills are
isn't
not
dangerous.
there, and the reasoning ability is
A
not.
person's pronouns
there.
are not dangerous.
Um,
They're not. They're not dangerous. They're only dangerous because we treat them as dangerous, because they're taboo. They're no more being one pronoun over another is no more dangerous than the other. Dressing one way is no more dangerous than another.
so we are
The
going to
fact-
get into this in a future
Yeah.
episode.
I feel
As
like we
think-
have to. It's its own ball of wax.
Yeah, this is its own show.
But
But what I'm saying is, with the Libs of TikTok, is they are looking at things like in that light,
Mhm.
and it is touching a nerve, and we're
And-
seeing that.
But at the same time, I think that the way in which they do it is also touching a nerve on the far left.
Oh, obviously.
And so again, this is why I feel that they're opening themselves up to this harsher criticism, because they are hitting on a nerve, and in some instances what they're posting is deemed as directly hurtful or oppressive to some people.
Okay.
Now,
think-
whether or not you agree with that, or whether or not the majority of conservatives agree with that, is fair.
I
That's
don't.
a valid point. But a lot of people do see it as directly
I don't
hurtful.
mind really the looking her up and the getting her information, is because I think it's a part and parcel of having an online account.
Mhm.
There
Effectively
really
being
is
a
no
celebrity.
privacy on either side of the fence.
Mhm.
But there is a difference in between, here's what is on the Will and Dave show every week. I'm going to replay it every week. Here's what they say. If you agree or don't agree, I think that all their ideas and opinions are crap. If anybody were to use our show, fine, because it's out there. It's what it is. I don't care.
Mhm.
Now, I would have an emotional reaction if we were blurred out, our names were hidden, and there's a hope, been intent
For anonymity.
for anonymity, and somebody went out and said, hey, I'm going to dig him up because I don't agree with it.
Yeah.
There is an emotional difference, and there is a difference
I agree
in
that there's a
between the
difference.
two
But
things that's
I
happening.
don't- I don't think they're so far removed from each other. They are different. I feel like they're just different sides of the same coin. Like they're running in parallel to each other. Not on the same track, but in tandem with one another. I don't think they're so far different.
I think the
I
reason they're
think
not is because you agree with one side.
mm,
And so
no, because
it
I still
blurs the
think
line of what is
I don't think
emotionally
that my
fair.
viewing them as different is rooted in my bias. I think that's rooted in the fact that I just think that they're different.
As
I
one
think that
of
they're both
them
equally despicable.
is holding a mirror up and saying, here's what you said. I don't agree. I don't like it. Here's what you said.
And the other's
And
holding
the
a mirror
other
up
one
and
is
saying you're
saying,
putting people's livelihoods at risk more so than they had intended with their post. When they're making a post for friends and family or within their circle on social media, that's a little different than having an account like Libs of TikTok blow it up and pass it around to a much larger audience. And that doesn't make it right or wrong. I don't know, but I don't think it's all that far removed.
okay,
I think the intent is still malicious on either end.
you know what? I think you're wrong.
How dare you disagree with me, Dave? This has never happened in the history of this show.
I'm reading the tagline on the bottom of the lower third where disagreeing is encouraged.
It's almost like we planned for this.
Oh my gosh. Hey guys, if you watch this show, we would really appreciate it.
Do you have a little button?
I'm looking for it. It doesn't want to play, for crying out loud.
But hey, ignore that. If you enjoyed the show, if you like listening to it or watching it, please, we would love it.
It's
Like,
right there. I did get
comment, subscribe. There we go. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Get this out to as many people as you think might enjoy it.
it. Yeah.
And we would love to hear from you. If you guys have any feedback or any comments on what we talked about in today's show, feel free to put them in the comments on this
Yes.
video. In the comments of this video is probably the easiest way to do it.
Or email us at info@thewillanddaveshow.com.
That too.
We'll throw it on the screen next week.
Yeah, we would love to. We would genuinely love your input. Not just because it helps with the algorithm, which it does, which is nice, but because we genuinely love hearing from our audience and interacting with them. That's a big part of what makes this show fun, is hearing those other opinions besides just ours.
Yeah, because our opinions are exactly that, opinions.
They're kind of stale sometimes too. We hear them a lot.
Williams, so last week we were copyright hit,
Mm-hmm.
and we won the one.
Oh,
And
really?
we lost
Okay.
the other two.
Gasp.
As it happened overnight, all of a sudden there were three instead of just the one. So it must have.
As soon as we got flagged, it probably
Yeah.
ran through all of our content.
And I argued the one, and we won the one.
Which one did we win?
The one with the lady, the black lady who had the talk show, and we were talking about. I forget her name. It was about 3 months ago that we did one. It was her talk show.
Okay.
We played a clip. We lost it on the John Oliver and the one.
So is
with
the video
movie.
still up, or is the video
Yes,
taken down?
and so it just is up.
It's
It just is
just
demonetized.
kept demonetized. Oh, it's
Yeah,
fine.
we don't.
We're not making money off of it anyways.
Now we will make money if those of you watching the show, if you would like and subscribe and make a comment, so maybe we can get.
Holy cow, Dave! Shill some more.
Hey, your mom is monetized now, and she made like $14.
Hey, that's $14 more than we make, so she must know
That's true.
something.
But she's a heck of a lot easier to listen to.
This is true.
Okay, Will, well, do you have anything to say to our fine viewers before we end this shindig?
Yes, I do. Stay safe, don't die, and have a wonderful night.